Welcome to our deep dive into Honeywell's world.
Ooh, exciting.
It is.
Yeah.
It's October 24th, 2024, and
Good day.
they just dropped their third quarter earnings.
Huge.
We've got their earnings presentation
Okay.
and the press release.
Gotcha.
So we're going to get the big picture overview
Yes.
and zoom in on some of the really interesting details.
So the 30,000-foot view
Yep.
and the street view.
Exactly.
Love it.
And there's a lot going on.
Uh-oh.
First up, a new CFO is taking the reins.
Okay.
What can you tell us about this changing of the guard?
Well, the current CFO, Greg Lewis, who's been, leading Honeywell's digital transformation, is moving to head up Honeywell Accelerator.
Okay.
But the incoming CFO,
Yeah.
Mike Stepniak, he's got a background in aerospace and building automation.
Interesting.
It makes you wonder if Honeywell is signaling where they're placing their bets for the future.
Aerospace and building automation.
Yeah.
Are those hints about where Honeywell might focus their energy?
Potentially.
It's like they're dropping us clues.
It's like they're speaking in code.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so new leadership on the horizon.
Okay.
But what about their current game plan? What are Honeywell's big goals right now?
Well, they've laid out three main priorities.
Yeah.
Accelerating organic growth,
Okay.
evolving their accelerator operating system,
Ooh.
and optimizing their portfolio.
Accelerator operating system.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty intense.
It does sound pretty fancy.
Is it like some
Yeah.
super secret formula for success?
Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
some magical concoction, but
Yeah.
think of it as the engine that keeps Honeywell running smoothly and efficiently.
Okay.
It helps them boost growth and improve profit margins by streamlining operations,
Gotcha.
making sure every part of the company is working in sync.
So it's their secret weapon for staying ahead of the competition.
It's one of them.
Now, let's talk about their shopping spree.
Ooh.
Honeywell has been buying up companies left and right.
They've been busy.
Why all these acquisitions?
Well, they've been incredibly active in the M&A market.
Yeah.
I think last time we talked, we were
Yeah.
looking at sort of a year-to-date number, but now we're talking about almost $9 billion spent on acquisitions just this year alone.
Wow.
Just look at this past quarter.
Yeah.
Civitanavi, CAES Systems, Air Products LNG business,
Mm-hmm.
that's nearly $4 billion right there.
Wow. $9 billion is a serious chunk of change.
Yeah.
Break it down for us. What do these acquisitions tell us about where Honeywell is headed?
Well, let's take Access Solutions, for example,
Okay.
which they bought earlier this year.
Yep.
It boosts their building automation segment,
Okay.
specifically by adding equipment-agnostic products to their lineup.
Equipment agnostic, meaning their products work with systems from different brands.
Exactly. It's like having a universal remote for building automation.
That's smart. Like a universal remote for building automation.
Yeah.
Okay, then you've got Civitanavi, an Italian company,
Oh, yeah.
specializing in navigation and sensor technology.
Okay.
This strengthens their aerospace segment,
So they're kind of doubling down on a couple of these
Right.
segments.
expanding their product line A&D, their reach.
Yeah.
Smooth move, Honeywell.
Yeah. Very strategic.
What about the other two, CAES Systems and Air Products LNG business?
Well, CAES Systems,
Yeah.
that's all about expanding their aerospace footprint,
Okay,
specifically in defense.
gotcha.
They focus on these critical defense platforms, and that sector is projected to grow significantly in the coming years.
So it seems like they're making a big bet on the future of defense technology.
Yeah, basically.
And given the global landscape, it's not a surprising move.
Right. Makes sense.
Now, the LNG business from Air Products,
Okay.
that one seems a bit different.
That's because it plays into their focus on energy transition and sustainability.
Okay.
This acquisition pumps up their energy and sustainability solutions segment by boosting their presence in liquefied natural gas, which is a key fuel source as the world tries to move away from fossil fuels.
So they're not just buying hardware,
Right.
they're investing in the whole energy transition ecosystem.
Yeah. They're thinking long-term, and that's important for understanding their strategy.
It's like they're setting themselves up to be the go-to company for sustainable energy solutions.
Potentially.
Okay, so Honeywell is growing through these acquisitions, but they're also doing some downsizing.
Right.
What's the story there?
Right. It's not just about adding, it's about streamlining.
Hmm.
They're spinning off their advanced materials business.
Wow, it seems counterintuitive to let go of a business making billions. Why would they spin off advanced materials?
Think of it like a gardener pruning a tree.
Okay.
They're getting rid of some branches to help the tree grow stronger in the areas they want to focus on.
Okay, so what are those key areas?
Well, we've sort of been hitting on them, right?
Right.
Honeywell is laser focused on what they call megatrends:
Hmm.
automation, the future of aviation, and energy transition.
So they're doubling down on the industries they think will shape the future.
Exactly. And that's where they're putting their resources.
But why should our listener care about Honeywell's buying and selling spree?
Well, think of it like this. These moves give us a glimpse into Honeywell's brain.
Okay.
By understanding where they're investing and where they're pulling back, we get a sense of their vision for the future
Mm-hmm.
and how they plan to stay ahead of the curve. It's all about anticipating those big industry shifts and understanding which areas hold the most promise for Honeywell and for anyone interested in those megatrends.
So instead of just looking at the numbers, we're
Uh,
trying to read between the lines and figure out what those numbers really mean.
exactly. And that's where the real insights come from.
All right, let's move on to their actual performance in the third quarter.
Okay.
Did they hit their targets?
Well, it's a bit of a mixed bag. The good news is they beat their earnings per share. And segment margin guidance, meaning they made more profit than expected,
That's great.
but they fell short on revenue,
Okay.
blaming it on transitory headwind.
Transitory headwinds.
Yeah,
That sounds like corporate jargon for we hit a few bumps in the road.
it does.
So exceeding profit expectations is great.
Yeah.
But what about those bumps? Where did they struggle?
Well, they basically faced some temporary challenges that impacted their overall sales.
Okay.
But let's dive into the specifics of each segment, starting with aerospace.
Okay, let's see how aerospace is doing.
Aerospace had a fantastic quarter.
Really?
Yeah, double-digit organic sales growth.
Wow.
They were really flying high, driven by strong demand in both defense and space,
Okay.
as well as the ongoing recovery in commercial aviation.
Yeah, it's great to see airlines bouncing back after that slowdown a few years ago.
It is, yeah.
But even with that success, they must have felt those transitory headwinds somewhere, right?
Yeah, you're right, they did.
Yeah.
I mentioned some disruptions in their manufacturing processes,
Okay.
most likely due to those pesky supply chain issues that everyone is dealing with.
So even a high-flying segment like aerospace can escape the supply chain woes.
It seems not, no.
It seems like everyone is feeling the pinch these days.
Unfortunately, that's the reality of the current environment.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears to industrial automation.
Okay.
This segment actually saw a decline in sales.
A decline. That's unexpected.
Yeah.
I thought automation was all the rage these days.
You would think so, right?
What happened there?
Well, they pointed to some weakness in warehouse automation and safety technologies.
Okay.
It seems those areas are experiencing a bit of a slowdown.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Warehouse automation has been such a hot topic lately.
Yeah.
I wonder what's behind that slowdown.
Yeah. It's hard to say for sure.
Could it be that companies are hesitant to invest in those technologies given all the economic uncertainty in the air?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And definitely something worth exploring further. Yeah. It could be a combination of factors, but economic jitters could certainly be playing a role.
Okay.
Now, how about we move on to building automation?
Yes, let's see how that segment is performing.
Well, there's good news here.
Oh, good.
Building automation is showing promising signs of recovery
Oh.
with sequential growth
Yeah.
for the second quarter in a row.
So it's getting better each quarter.
It is, yeah.
That's encouraging.
It is.
And remember that Access Solutions acquisition we talked about earlier?
I do.
Well, they're already seeing positive results from that strategic purchase.
That's great to hear.
It seems like their plan is coming together nicely.
Yeah.
So one segment is soaring,
Uh-huh.
one is facing some headwinds,
Good.
and one is steadily recovering.
Yeah.
What about energy and sustainability solutions? How did they fare?
This segment had modest growth overall,
Okay.
with their advanced materials performing well.
Okay.
But their UOP business faced some project timing issues.
So advanced materials is exceeding expectations while UOP hit a few snags.
Precisely.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and those delays were attributed to push-outs and delays in the energy sector.
Okay.
It seems likely that some projects are getting stalled because of permitting issues or fluctuations in energy prices.
That makes sense given the current energy market.
Yeah.
But hold on.
Yeah.
Didn't they mention that UOP orders were actually quite strong?
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Okay.
They highlighted a record-breaking quarter for UOP orders,
Really?
reaching $1 billion,
Wow.
and a book-to-bill ratio of 1.2.
$1 billion in orders? That sounds incredibly promising.
It is.
But for our listener who might not be familiar with all the financial lingo, could you explain what a book-to-bill ratio
Yeah.
is and why it's so significant?
Of course. It's essentially a way to measure incoming orders against billed sales.
Okay.
A ratio above 1 means they're getting more orders than they can currently fulfill,
Okay.
which indicates strong future demand.
Gotcha.
So, even though UOP had some near-term project delays,
Yeah.
their long-term outlook seems quite bright.
Okay, so a temporary setback, but a positive sign for the future.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to...
Seems like a hurry up and wait situation for UOP, wouldn't you say?
I think that's an apt description.
Yeah.
Now, taking a step back to look at the bigger picture,
Okay.
Honeywell did make some adjustments to their full-year guidance.
Oh, revised guidance. Does that mean they're less optimistic about the rest of the year?
Not necessarily.
Uh-huh.
They actually narrowed their adjusted earnings per share guidance to the high end of their previous range.
Okay.
In simpler terms, they're even more confident about their profitability.
Okay, that's a positive spin.
It is, yeah.
But they did lower some of their guidance, right?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
They adjusted their sales growth guidance down to 3% to 4%.
Okay.
They also lowered their cash flow guidance for the year.
Gotcha.
Essentially, they're acknowledging that there are some hurdles in the current environment.
Okay.
Things like
Yeah.
those unexpected delays in process solutions and UOP,
Okay.
slower sales in industrial automation,
Hmm.
and the manufacturing disruptions we talked about earlier.
Right.
But despite these challenges, are they still optimistic about the future?
It sounds like they're trying to be realistic but not overly pessimistic.
Right.
So what's their outlook?
Well, they're still remarkably positive.
Really?
They specifically highlighted a positive setup for 2025.
Okay.
And they're pointing to a couple of key factors.
Okay.
Their record backlog, which
Mm.
indicates a lot of future business already in the pipeline,
Right.
and the anticipated boost from their acquisitions,
Mm.
which will start to fully impact their results next year.
So they're acknowledging the bumps in the road but keeping their eyes on the prize.
Exactly, yeah.
That's a good attitude to have.
It is, yeah.
Now, remember how we talked about Greg Lewis, the current CFO, moving to lead Honeywell Accelerator?
I do, yeah.
Well, the press release actually sheds some more light on his new role. It mentions that he'll be focusing on expanding Honeywell Accelerator.
Okay.
Remember we talked about it earlier?
Yeah.
It's their internal initiative to drive digital transformation and software growth across the company.
Right. It's like their internal engine for innovation and efficiency.
But why would they put their former CFO, someone so deeply involved in their financial success, in charge of expanding it?
Yeah, it makes you wonder.
What kind of message are they sending with this move?
It does.
It seems like they're putting a lot of emphasis on digital and software if they're willing to put someone with Lewis's experience at the helm.
I think you're spot on.
Yeah.
It suggests that Honeywell sees software and digital solutions as essential for future growth,
Okay.
not just a side project.
Which aligns perfectly with their focus on automation, right?
It does.
It's all starting to connect.
Exactly, yeah.
So Honeywell is going all in on the digital future.
It seems so.
What does that mean for our listener? Why should they care about this digital shift?
Well, this isn't just about Honeywell. It's about understanding the direction of entire industries.
Okay.
If you're thinking about Honeywell as an investment, a potential partner,
Yeah.
or even a competitor,
Yeah.
you need to understand that digital is at the core of their strategy.
Gotcha.
It's going to shape everything they do moving forward.
So it's not just about the numbers.
Right.
It's about the bigger picture and what those numbers tell us about the future.
Exactly.
Okay.
But let's dive back into this accelerator operating system for a moment.
Okay.
We know it's their secret weapon for driving operational efficiency and performance.
Yeah.
But what does that mean in practice?
Yeah.
What are the tangible results?
Right. What can this system actually do
Yeah.
that makes Honeywell so much better?
Well, the earnings materials actually provide some clues.
Okay.
They credit the accelerator operating system with helping them expand margins in 3 out of their 4 business segments this quarter.
So even with all those challenges we talked about, they were able to improve their profitability in most areas. That's pretty impressive.
Yes, yeah.
And they're directly attributing that success to this operating system.
They are, yeah.
It suggests that it gives them the agility to adapt to changing conditions and maintain strong margins,
Uh-huh.
even when faced with difficulties.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one concrete benefit. Are there any other examples of the accelerator operating system in action?
Sure.
What else does it allow them to do?
They've said in the past that this system helps them boost productivity,
Okay.
optimize their supply chain,
Yeah.
and even speed up the integration of their acquisitions.
So it's not just about cutting costs, it's about becoming a lean, mean, efficient machine.
It is, yeah.
It's like they've discovered the secret to business optimization.
It seems that way.
And that's a huge advantage in today's fast-paced world.
It is, yeah.
Companies that can move quickly, adapt to change, and integrate new businesses seamlessly are the ones that are going to thrive. And it seems like the Accelerator operating system is a big part of what gives Honeywell that edge.
Yeah, I would say so.
It's fascinating to think about how this behind-the-scenes system is driving their success.
Yeah.
It's not as flashy as a billion-dollar acquisition, but it's arguably just as important to their long-term strategy.
I think so too.
Okay, but let's bring it back down to earth for a moment.
Okay.
What does all this mean for the average investor? Someone who might be considering adding Honeywell to their portfolio.
Well,
That's the question on everyone's mind, right? What's the bottom line for investors?
here's what I see.
Okay.
Honeywell is clearly committed to growth, both organically and through acquisitions. They're not afraid to make big moves to position themselves for the future.
Yeah.
And they're clearly focused on those megatrends: automation, aviation, and energy transition, which they believe are the keys to future growth.
It sounds like they have a clear vision and a solid plan to get there.
Yeah.
But what about the risks?
Right.
Every investment has its downsides. What are the potential red flags that an investor should be aware of?
Well, no investment is without risk.
Right.
For Honeywell, one key risk factor is the global economic climate.
Okay.
They've already admitted that economic uncertainty is impacting some of their businesses.
Yeah.
If things take a turn for the worse,
Right.
it could definitely affect their ability to hit their ambitious targets.
So a global recession could throw a wrench in their plans.
It's a possibility that investors need to consider.
Okay.
Another risk is the execution of their acquisitions.
Okay.
Integrating new businesses is always a complex process.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're dealing with different company cultures,
Yeah.
systems, ways of doing things.
Right. It takes a lot of finesse to blend those different elements together smoothly.
It does.
If those integrations don't go well, it could impact Honeywell's overall performance.
It could, yeah.
Okay.
But on the bright side, Honeywell does have a track record of successful acquisitions
Yeah.
and a proven ability to navigate difficult times.
That's reassuring.
It is.
It's all about weighing the potential rewards against the inherent risks.
Exactly.
So, as always, it's crucial for investors to do their homework
Yeah,
and make informed decisions,
for sure.
which is exactly why we're doing this deep dive.
Precisely.
We're trying to arm our listener with the knowledge they need to make smart choices.
That's right.
But let's broaden our perspective for a moment and think about the larger implications of Honeywell's strategy.
Okay.
Their focus on automation, aviation, and energy transition. Those are mega trends that are going to reshape the world.
Yeah.
How might those impact our listeners' life, regardless of whether they invest in Honeywell?
Good question.
These trends are much bigger than any one company.
Right.
Let's start with automation.
Okay.
We're already seeing it everywhere.
We are. Yeah.
What does Honeywell's focus on automation mean for our listener in their everyday life?
Well, it could mean big changes in the job market
Okay.
as automation takes over certain tasks. We're already seeing this happening in manufacturing,
Yeah.
logistics,
Yeah.
even customer service.
It's a little unsettling to think about, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Are robots going to take over all the jobs?
Well, it's not quite that simple.
Okay.
While some jobs will inevitably be displaced,
Yeah.
automation also creates new opportunities.
Okay.
Think about the potential for increased productivity,
Mm-hmm.
efficiency,
Yeah.
even safety in various industries.
Right.
Honeywell is at the forefront of developing those solutions.
Okay.
And that could lead to entirely new industries and job categories that we can't even imagine yet.
So it's a double-edged sword. Automation will disrupt the status quo, but it also has the potential to unlock incredible advancements.
Exactly.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
the same logic applies to the other megatrends Honeywell is focusing on.
Okay.
Aviation is evolving rapidly
Oh.
with advancements in electric and hybrid aircraft,
Yeah.
autonomous flight,
Mm-hmm.
and even space exploration.
It sounds like science fiction.
It does a bit, doesn't it?
But how does that affect someone who's not an aerospace engineer or a pilot?
Well, imagine faster,
Okay.
more efficient,
Yeah.
potentially more sustainable travel.
Okay.
Think about flying across the country in an electric plane
Wow.
or taking an autonomous air taxi to avoid traffic.
Yeah.
These innovations could revolutionize the way we commute,
Mm-hmm.
travel, and do business.
It's an exciting vision of the future.
It is.
And finally, there's energy transition.
Yes.
This one feels particularly urgent,
It does.
given the climate challenges we're facing.
Absolutely.
And Honeywell is playing a key role in developing the technologies that will enable us to transition to a more sustainable energy future.
They are, yeah.
Okay, break it down for our listener.
Okay.
What are those technologies and how might they impact their world?
Well, we're talking about things like renewable energy sources,
Okay.
energy storage solutions,
Mm,
carbon capture technology,
right.
even smarter grids that
Yeah.
can manage energy distribution more efficiently. These innovations have the potential to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels,
Yeah.
mitigate the effects of climate change,
Right.
create a more sustainable future for generations to come.
It's a daunting task,
It is.
but it's encouraging to see a company like Honeywell taking on the challenge.
It really is.
Yeah, it's a powerful example of how businesses can be a force for positive change in the world.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Now, let's circle back to Honeywell's financial performance for a moment.
Okay.
There's one detail about their backlog
Okay.
that I think deserves a closer look.
Ah, the backlog. We briefly touched on that earlier.
Right.
It's basically a measure of future business they've already secured.
Yeah, like a queue.
Right, like a giant queue of customers waiting to give them money.
You got it.
And it's currently sitting at a record high,
It is.
a staggering $34 billion.
It is pretty amazing.
Wow, $34 billion. That's like winning the lottery, except they earned it.
Yeah.
What's driving that surge in their backlog? Is it all those acquisitions?
Well, that's a great question, and the answer is
Yeah.
it's not just the acquisitions.
Okay.
Their backlog, excluding the impact of acquisitions, is up 6% year over year.
Okay.
This tells us that their core businesses are performing well and securing new orders.
So their existing businesses are thriving,
Yeah,
and they have all these new businesses coming on board through acquisitions.
exactly.
It's no wonder they're feeling optimistic about the future.
It's a powerful combination.
It is.
They specifically mentioned strength in their defense and space business,
Okay.
building solutions,
Mhm.
and UOP orders all key growth areas for Honeywell.
It definitely paints a picture of a company that's firing on all cylinders.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about Honeywell's digital transformation, the implications of their chosen megatrends,
Yeah.
their impressive backlog,
You're right.
and even the role of business in addressing global challenges. What's the one key takeaway for our listener? The one thing they should remember from this conversation?
I think the key takeaway is this.
Check.
Honeywell is a company that's constantly moving and evolving.
Yeah.
They're not standing still. They're actively adapting to a rapidly changing world.
Mm-hmm.
They're making bold moves to position themselves for future growth.
Right.
And they're using their expertise to tackle some of the world's most pressing challenges.
It sounds like it's an exciting time to be following Honeywell's journey.
It definitely is.
And who knows what the future holds for this innovative company?
The future is full of possibilities.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But speaking of the future, I'm curious about something. As we've been digging into these earnings materials, it's clear that Honeywell is making some big bets on the future.
Yeah.
Especially with their focus on those megatrends, automation, aviation, and energy transition.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it makes me wonder
Yeah.
what happens to their existing businesses,
Right.
the ones that have been their bread and butter for years.
Yeah, it's like they're building a brand new shiny spaceship,
Right,
but they still have this whole fleet of older reliable rockets.
right.
What do they do with those?
We've already seen them spin off advanced materials
Yeah.
and exit the PPE business.
Right.
Are there other parts of their portfolio that might be on the chopping block as they streamline their operations?
It's hard to say for sure,
Yeah.
but there are definitely some candidates.
Okay.
Think about their presence in the automotive industry with their turbocharger technologies.
Oh, yeah, they're a big player in turbochargers for gas and diesel engines.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the automotive world is changing rapidly with the rise of electric vehicles.
Right.
Will those turbochargers become obsolete as EVs take over?
That's a good question.
It is.
If their turbocharger business starts to dwindle,
Yeah,
how will they adapt?
right.
Will they invest in new technologies for electric powertrains, or will they eventually sell off that business to focus on their megatrend strategies?
It's a tough choice, but it's a dilemma many companies are facing right now.
Yeah.
The world is changing so fast that what was once a core business can quickly become a relic of the past.
Yeah, it's almost like watching evolution in action,
Yeah.
but for businesses,
Oh.
adapt or become extinct.
Exactly. And that's why companies like Honeywell need to be so strategic and agile.
Right.
They need to anticipate those industry shifts and be willing to make tough choices,
Hmm.
even if it means letting go of businesses that have been successful in the past.
It's a reminder that nothing stays the same forever.
Right.
Even for a giant like Honeywell,
Yeah,
change is the only constant, I guess.
absolutely. And that's why it's so important for anyone following the business world to stay informed,
Yeah.
understand the forces shaping the landscape,
Yeah.
and be ready to adapt and evolve.
So, in a way, Honeywell's journey is a microcosm of what's happening in the larger business world.
Yeah, I think so.
They're making tough choices,
Mm-hmm.
embracing new technologies,
Yeah,
and betting big on the future.
it seems like they are.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive into Honeywell's world.
It has been.
We've unpacked their third quarter earnings,
Yeah.
explored their strategic priorities,
Yeah.
and even pondered what the future might hold for them and their industry.
It's been a pleasure diving deep with you. Yeah.
Likewise. And for our listener, I hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights into Honeywell's strategy and how it connects to the larger trends shaping our world.
And remember, we've only scratched the surface here.
Right.
There's a wealth of information in Honeywell's full earnings presentation and press release.
Hmm.
I encourage you to check those out on their investor relations website if you want to explore even further.
That's great advice. And who knows, maybe your next deep dive will focus on one of those megatrends that caught your attention today.
Ooh, good idea.
The possibilities are endless.
Until then, happy exploring.
Thanks for joining us. Thank Hamas.